أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله إلا الله
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الأمم وفضل محمدا صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم على الخلق أجمعين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له قيوم السماوات والأراضين بعث نبيه محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم رحمة للعالمين وأشهد أن محمدا صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم عبد الله ورسوله بلغ حقيقة رسالة ربه وأفضل الأمانة ونصح للأمة وجاهد لله حق جهاده حتى أتاه اليقين فسبحانك اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم أما بعد. Brothers and sisters in Islam, we thank the Almighty Allah for an opportunity to be here. We thank Him for His mercies that He's bestowed upon us. We bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except the Almighty Allah. And we also bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His servant and His messenger. Whosoever the Almighty Allah guides is really guided. And anybody who goes astray has nobody to blame but themselves. Today is a Friday, the 23rd day of Safar, 1445 years after the hijrah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which is 2023. Alhamdulillah, it's an honor and a privilege to be here today to meet brothers and sisters that we share the same faith with. And the meeting of Ahibba, or the meeting of lovers and brothers, is a good sign of pride. For us, meeting here today is not by our choice, it's not by our making, it's by the will of the Almighty Allah. You know very well that there are other Muslims who have other priorities on Jummah. But then again, we are fortunate enough to find ourselves in the Masjid for Jum'ah and on time to listen to the Khutbah. May the Almighty Allah grant us success in this dunya and the akhirah. Our topic of discussion is back to school. The school year has been reopened and parents are preparing supplies to send their kids back to school. And as Muslims, every aspect of our life must be guided by the teachings of Islam. Everything that we do day in, day out must be curtailed according to the teachings of Islam. The importance of knowledge in Islam and the seeking of knowledge. The first 5 verses to be revealed in the Quran spoke about knowledge 6 times. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. In these first 5 verses of the Quran, the Almighty Allah speaks about knowledge 6 times. He says, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. 6 times the Almighty Allah speaks about knowledge Why will the Almighty Allah begin His book, open His book, His first revelation to His messenger with Iqra, read? Why didn't He start with Ibadah? Why did He start with Iqra, to read? It's a point for us to ponder as Muslims, because it's the importance of knowledge in our deen is very, very important. Because this deen, you cannot practice it without knowledge. So it's very, very important as Muslims, we cherish knowledge. We seek for knowledge. We go out there to explore the horizons of knowledge. It's very, very important. The Prophet Muhammad made Zayd ibn Thabit to study the Hebrew language in 17 days in Medina. He studied the whole language within 17 days. He could read, write, speak fluently, and respond to the letters that the Jews sent to the Prophet Muhammad So the community of the Sahaba was intellectually sound, both on the religious path and also on the secular path. So as Muslims, if we want to dominate, we need to be well versed in our deen and at the same time know the ways of the dunya. If we do not know the ways of the dunya, the people of the dunya will capture us and subjugate us and control their affairs. But when we know our deen and that we know the ways of the dunya, then we can bring our solutions onto the table for everybody to see. I believe very much that the Muslim in America today is not a minority. No, we are not. Because we are a very visible community. If you go anywhere and then you see a Muslim, you see a Muslim. We need to translate this visibility into solution-oriented for the American community. America thirsts for Islam. The problems that this country faces, the solution is in Islam. And decades ago, Malcolm X said this, and he told us the solution to the problem of America today is in Islam. And 16 years later, I repeat the same thing to us, that the solution to the problems that America faces today is in Islam. But then, how do we send that message to other people is by us first and foremost understanding our deen and knowing our deen and practicing our deen and being a part and parcel of our deen. We should be full-time members of Islam. We cannot be part-time Muslims. No. We cannot supermarket shopping for Islam. When you're going to be a Muslim, it's a full-time job. You can't be a Muslim in the morning and then be something else in the evening. You can't be a Muslim in the evening and by morning you've changed. You are like a chameleon. Today you're black, tomorrow you're blue, the next day you are white. No, Islam doesn't work that way. When you are a Muslim, it is a full-time job. But then for us to be able to be this full-time adherents to Islam, we need to understand the deen. And we need to seek knowledge of the deen. It's very, very, very important. Wallahi. The effort alone or the passion alone is not enough. It's very, very important that we study the deen. We join the classes. We join the halaqat. We go there to study. It's very, very important. I find it very amazing that as a Muslim, we find time to study other things. Some parents are here, they go to evening classes. Some parents are here, they have extra classes because they want to be promoted at the job places. I find some Muslims who are studying Korean language. And they are very beautiful. So he's studying the Korean language to understand the series. But then he cannot study to read the Quran. He doesn't have time for that. What would you tell the Almighty Allah on the day of judgment when you come as a Muslim and then you have all these degrees, but then you can't open anywhere in the Quran to read? What is going to be your response in front of the Almighty Allah when He asks you, why are you not able to read my book, my message to you, the eternal message, the final message? Why can't you read it? What is going to be your response to the Almighty Allah? So the importance of knowledge can never be overemphasized in Islam. Whether it is Islamic knowledge or secular knowledge that is beneficial to humanity. Alhamdulillah, the school year has reopened. Parents are trying to find supplies for their kids to send them back to school. But then, I have a reminder for us. يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا. O you who believe, shield yourselves and your families from the hellfire. Are we sending the kids to school so that their minds or their hearts will be taught something that fortunately or unfortunately will go against us? Are we feeding the tummies of the kids and then we put their minds to other people for feeding? What kind of nurturing, what kind of education are we putting forth for these kids? Are we only interested in them being doctors and lawyers and engineers and politicians because we want them to earn 6-digit figures so that they can help us when we are in our old age? Is that why we are sending them to school? Are we sending them to school so that they earn big careers so that I can kick my chest out and say, my son is a doctor or my daughter is an engineer? Is that it? Why are we sending them to school? Why are we putting them through all these lessons? What is our aim as a Muslim community in sending our kids to school for them to study all these secular subjects? It's a question we need to ask ourselves. What are our priorities? Why are my kids in school? I should ask myself this. Why do they go to this particular school or that particular school? Why? It's a question we need to ask ourselves. It's not that the euphoria is around that it's the new school year, so we're going out to buy supplies, we're preparing them new uniforms, new clothes, new sneakers, so that they can look fresh on the first day of school, and then that's it. What is the purpose? It's very, very important we need to ask ourselves that. Do you know why the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إِذَا مَاتَ ابْنُ آدَمَ all your deeds are cut off except 3 things. And amongst those 3 things are waladun salihun yad'u lahu, or you leave behind a pious child who remembers you and then prays for you when you are dead in the grave. Be honest to yourself. The kids that you are raising now, when you die, will they remember you and pray for you in the grave? Be honest to yourself. Let's ask this ourselves. The kids that we are nurturing, the kids that we are giving birth to, the kind of atmosphere we have in our homes, these kids that we are raising today, when we die and then we are buried today, will they remember us and pray for us when we are in our graves? So it's important then that we channel our energies towards nurturing them the right way. We are not saying don't send them to the secular schools, no. But then again, when we send them to the secular schools to go and learn those careers, we need to also have at the back of our minds that we need to give them an Islamic shield. So number 1, what is their identity? Before our kids go to school, number 1, let them understand who they are. What is their identity? Because you know very well that we live in times, the most important word today is identity. That's the most important word today is identity. What is your identity? And educational curriculums are being channeled towards a particular identity. So as a Muslim, if you do not awaken the Islamic identity in your child, you have already lost the battle before it had already begun. What is your identity? What kind of atmosphere are you creating in the home for your kids? Is Quran part of your day-to-day activities as a Muslim family? Is Salah a part and parcel of your day-to-day activities as a Muslim in the family? Is the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the agenda for your day-in, day-out activities? What's the thought process of your kids? It's very, very strange, the times that we live in. So if you are not deliberate and conscious in the efforts that you put in the nurturing of your kids, they will grow up and their names might be Muhammad or Musa or Mustafa, but then they are in your house and then they are living as kuffar. May Almighty Allah save us. So for me today, the questions I want you to put forth to your kids as they go to school. Number one, who are they? And don't think it's an easy question. It's not easy. Because there is a culmination of events before you're able to answer those questions. Who are you? It's very, very important. Let them understand who they are. They are Muslims. The fact that other people are doing some things doesn't necessarily mean they can also do those things. The fact that other people are engaged in some activities doesn't mean it's an open door policy for them to engage in the same things. The fact that other people are dressing in a way doesn't necessarily mean it is also right for them to dress in that way. The fact that other people are using some words doesn't mean it's appropriate for them to use those same words. Jargons doesn't mean it's okay and appropriate for them to use those same words. Let's understand that. Let's not be swept by the waves. The Jews who pass by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they say, Assalamu alaikum. May destruction and death be upon you. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will repeat, Wa alaikum. And Aisha will be furious. Because this is not a greeting. This is a curse on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And she will say, Wa alaikum assalam ya abna'ul qiradatu wal khanazir. May destruction befall you, O you offerings of monkeys and pigs. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would turn and say, Ya Aisha, no, the Almighty Allah doesn't like this kind of language. And she would say, Ya Rasulullah, didn't you hear what they said? And he turned and said, yes, I heard them. And what did I tell them? I was said, Wa alaikum, and that's it. So let our kids understand that the kind of language that is being used out there is not our language. The kind of tone that is being used out there is not ours. The kind of lifestyle that is being run out there is not ours. The fact that we live in the same communities or attend the same schools doesn't mean we're the same. No, we should have our identity. And our identity is pure, is pristine. Let our kids understand that. But before they will be able to understand that, we as parents and guardians and teachers and uncles and fathers and mothers and aunties and granddads, we must show the way. The moment we use curse words in the house, the kids will cooperate. The moment we use bad words in the house, the kids will cooperate. The moment we don't care about salah, the kids will cooperate. The moment we don't care about our hijab, the kids will cooperate. The moment we don't care about our identity as Muslims, anything goes, the kids will cooperate. And then when they are old and bigger, then we come to the imams and start crying, Imam, remember me in your du'as. My kids are very stubborn. They were not stubborn when they were in the womb. Neither were they stubborn when you were breastfeeding them. They were not stubborn when they were 6 months old or a year old. You left the situation to degenerate. And now it is all eating us in the back. If you do not put your kids right in the house, if they do not respect authority in the house, they won't respect authority outside. They will start smashing in the face in the house before they come and beat us in the masjid. And these are facts. So what is their identity? It's very, very important. And how do we nurture those identities? Number one, Quran should be the first thing in your house. Reading, listening, memorizing, understanding, and then implementing. These are the 5 ways Quran can have an impact in your life. Listening to the Quran. How many times do we listen to the Quran? We don't. It's Ciara, Lil Kim, Beyonce, Jay-Z. These are the ones that we listen. You find a Muslim, he's memorized all kinds of music, all kinds of songs. But then when it comes to the Quran, he has only 3 friends. I call them the 3 quls. Qul huwa Allahu, Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. Those are his friends. He's been praying for the past 40 years. These are his main friends in the Quran. Apart from that, he doesn't have anybody else. But at the moment the rhythm and blues start coming in, you find an old man, one of his legs is in the grave and the other is in the dunya, but he has time to dance. As a Muslim, listens to music 6 hours a day. But when the Quran is being played, it feels very uncomfortable. The jinns and the shayateen have taken over your life. Listen to the Quran. Number 2, learn how to read the Quran. Learn. As a Muslim, learn how to read the Quran. Don't read any transliteration. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is B-I-S. That's not the Quran. Learn the Arabic because the Prophet Muhammad said, Man qara'a harfan min kitabillah. Anybody who reads a letter, an alphabet in the Quran has 10 reward for one letter. He says, when I say alif lam mim, that is not one letter, these are 3 different letters. So when you say alif lam mim, you have 30 reward from the Almighty Allah. When you read Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim has 19 letters in there, you have 190 free from the Almighty Allah. But a Muslim doesn't read the Quran. If you do not read the Quran, what life are you living in your house then? What lifestyle will your kids copy from you? It's very, very important. So the Quran, how well is the Quran manifest in our day-to-day activities? Listening, very, very important. Joining the halaqat in the masjid. Joining the circles where the Quran is being read, is being taught. The sister circle. This is very, very important because we are a nation of iqra. We are a nation of read. But then we say la naqra. We won't read, and that is why we find ourselves in all these problems. أقول ما تسمعون أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا عاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم عبد الله ورسوله أما بعد. We are speaking about the new school year and the kind of identities we must present to our kids because you know very well now the most important word in the world now is identity. And school curriculums, and school boards, and media are all channeling to us an identity. And as Muslims, what is our identity? And to safeguard the next generation of Muslims, we need to present that identity. We need to teach them that identity. We need to invest in that identity in them. If not for anything, at least when we die, they will remember us and they say a prayer for us when we are in our graves. So it's important as Muslims that we take hold of that. We grab that by the neck. Because that is that's who we are in this dunya and the akhirah. And part of the ways that we can teach this identity is by making the Quran a day-in-day act in our homes. Do our kids attend Islamic schools? Do our kids go to Quran memorization schools? Do our kids attend Islamic schools? What is the weekend school like for our kids? Sometimes our kids only spend 2 hours a week on the Quran. If you think that is enough, but then they go out there to go and learn Taekwondo for 4 hours. They go and learn Tai Chi for 3 hours. They go and learn football for 6 hours. Why? Because I want him to have a good career. I want to safeguard his career. I want him to be free when I'm not around. Wallahi, it is useless. Let me be very honest and blunt with us. If your kid is a doctor and he doesn't have the Quran, it's 0. If your child is an engineer without the Quran, it's 0. If your kid is a lawyer without the Quran, it's 0. This is the reality for us Muslims. Because this is who we are, this is our identity. Don't be swept by what other people say, but then be conscious on the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know very well what Imam Siraj Wahad said one time. You know, let me repeat it. He said, if my kids are doctors and engineers, but they do not have the Quran, I have failed. But then if they sweep the streets of New York, but then they have the Quran, then I am successful in life. Measure the way you live with your kids in the house with this statement by my father and Sheikh Imam Siraju Ahmad. How do you nurture the kids? They're out there studying all kinds of things, but then the Quran is not in their hearts. So when you talk, they talk back at you. When you talk, they give you an eye, they look at you in a way. When you talk, they shout back at you. Shut up, man. You didn't do a good job when you're raising them. I'm very sorry if I'm being blunt today, but sometimes you need to get the injection. It wakes you up. You need to get it. Sometimes you need to be punched in the face so that you come back to your senses. This is the reality. How are our kids living? Is because we as parents might not be doing our work right. So that's the first one, the Quran. The second one is the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who are their role models? It's a question we need to ask our kids. Who are their role models? I met some Muslim kids. Anywhere I go in America, I meet Muslim kids and I ask them, who is your role model? And the name that they mention breaks my heart. No need to mention any names, but you know, our kids and NFL, more than they are inclined towards doctors and engineers, more than they are inclined towards imams and hafaz of the Quran. It's dangerous. I'm not saying being a football player is haram. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it is wrong to be an NBA player. Please don't get me wrong. But all I'm saying is that you need to be a part and parcel of the decision making in this country. And with all due respect to our stars in NBA and NFL, when the decisions are being made in this country, they are not called. And these are facts. They call the doctors, they call the engineers, they call the lawyers. Because these are the ones who sit there at the table and then they carve out whatever they want to happen in this country. So if we want to eat part of the cake and not be the cake, we need to go into fields and study where we'll be able to be there at the table to do the discussion, not to be on the table to be discussed. So we need to channel the efforts that we have in our kids towards them picking role models that will make us a strong force to be recognized in this country, where we'll be producing the intellectuals, the people who have the high reasoning for us to be a part and parcel of the decision making in this country. There comes in studying the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There comes in having role models like Abu Bakr Siddiq and Umar bin Khattab and Uthman bin Affan and Ali bin Abi Talib. Here comes in having role models like Malcolm X. Here comes in having role models like Shuyukh and people who have made ways in the thinking and the reasoning of this dunya. So if your kid doesn't have a positive role model, it is high time we trace back our steps for us to get the right answers to that. The number one person your kid can have a role model in the house is you. If you are not the number one role model of your child in the house, my brother, my sister, you need to start rethinking. Because your kid should grow up seeing you do the right things. And whether they like it or not, naturally they're going to copy it. But if your kid grows up in the house and sees you do all manner of things that is not right, you're going to grow up to do the same thing. That is why the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Murru awladakum bis-salati sab'an." Order your kids to pray at the age of 7. This hadith, some of us really misunderstand the hadith. It doesn't mean that your kids should start praying at the age of 7. It means it is a worst case scenario that your kids should start praying before they are 7. If they are at the age of 7 and they do not pray, you need to order them. It means they should have the mindset not to be told to pray at the age of 7. If you have to tell your kids to pray at the age of 7, then for the first 6 years of their lives, what were you doing? Psychologists tell us that when kids are born, from the age of 0 to the age of 5, their minds or their brains are clear. They call it tabula rasa. So whatever they see in the first 5 years, they memorize. So after the age of 5, they start implementing whatever they see. Up to the age of 10. When they get to the age of 10, after they've practiced what they've seen for the first 5 years, for the next 5 years, from 10 to 15, that thing becomes a part and parcel of their lives. So after the age of 15, they've already developed that lifestyle and you can't change them. That is why the most dangerous time for a young man is between the ages of 10 and 15. When he gets to the age of 10 and then he's not praying, do what? Smack him. Because at that time, you can change him. But the moment he crosses the age of 10 and gets to 15, Sinil Bulu, that is the age of responsibility, there is nothing you can do apart from just do dua for the Almighty Allah to safeguard him. But then you wasted 10 years just looking at him. So role modeling in the house is very, very important. Be deliberate and then be conscious. And then finally, sometimes we will do all the best we can for the kids. But then again, things will not go well. It's a fact. Not all parents who have their kids go wayward fail. No, don't get me wrong. Because even Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam had a challenge with his own child. Doesn't mean that Nuh failed. No. So that is why it's very, very important as parents, we always do dua for the kids. Dua. Don't curse them, please. Don't curse them. Don't use bad words on them. Always remember them in your dua. Always. Mothers, fathers that you are here, always remember us in your dua. Dua is the weapon of the mu'min. Dua. Always do dua. When you are in sujood, remember the kids. Pray for them. Ask Allah to guide them. Ask Allah to make them successful in the dunya and the akhirah. Always do that. No matter how infuriating they are, no matter how irritating they are, even if they are wayward, even if they are doing drugs, even if they are gambling, even if they are doing all the haram in the dunya, they are still your kids. Pray for them. Remember them in your prayer. Don't kick them outside. When you kick them outside, then they're going to continue to be bad people. But then remember them in your prayer. Don't curse them. Don't use foul words on your kids. Do you know why? It's going to affect them. The dua of the parents and the curse of the parents doesn't miss. Some children are having challenges because their fathers bad-mouthed them. And it's a fact. Parents, your mouth is powerful. Use that for dua on your kids, especially you, the mothers. Do a lot of dua for the kids. I leave us with these three things: the Quran, the Sunnah, and then dua. And then finally, for us, the younger ones who are listening, you are preparing to go to school. Number one, don't forget your identity, who you are. Number two, be careful who you befriend in school. It's very, very important. They always say, choose your friends and don't let them choose you. Choose your friends. Don't let them choose you. Because when you choose your friends, you choose the one that align with your mindset. You choose the one that align with your thinking. You choose the ones that align with your goals and your objectives. Choose your friends. And then thirdly, always remember you have an objective, which is you are there to learn. You are there to learn. And as kids, let's respect the elderly. It's very, very important. There's an old African proverb that says, what the old man sees while sitting on his lazy chair, the young man can never see, even if he climbs the tall iroko tree. What the old man sees while sitting in his lazy chair, the young man can never see, even if he climbs the tall iroko tree. old age comes with experience. Not every information can you find in books. These old men here have seen a lot in their lives. If they're going to write what they've seen for us, we're going to have volumes. That is why part of our etiquette and our identity as Muslims is young men, we sit at the foot of the old men and then we drink and tap from their vast knowledge and experience. Finally, those who drink water shouldn't forget those who dug the well. We are today here. There are people who sacrifice their lives, their times, their energies, their monies for establishments like this to be around for us to come and use. Let's not forget the heroes of yesterday. Some of them are alive, some of them are dead. Those who are dead, let's remember them in our prayers. Those who are alive, let's continue to be dutiful and respectful to them. Young men, if you want your kids to respect you tomorrow, start by respecting your fathers today. Young ladies, if you want your daughters to respect you tomorrow, start by respecting your mothers today. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, his father was a pagan, but he never cursed his father. He never talked back at his father. He never had headaches with his father. His father curses him, and then he tells his father, Salamu alaykum. His father says bad things about him, and then he speaks good to his father. When the Almighty Allah gave Ibrahim a son, Ismail, and then he wanted to slaughter the boy said, Ya Abba tif'al ma tu'mar. Oh daddy, do what the Almighty Allah has ordered you to do. Ibrahim was dutiful to his father. The Almighty Allah made Ismail to be dutiful to Ibrahim. So young men that you are here today, if you want your kids to be dutiful to you tomorrow, be dutiful to your fathers today. Whoever doesn't call his father my daddy, his kids will not call you our daddy too. That's the cause and effect of life. Finally, we have been told of a brother that we lost, Brother Jonathan. He died. But then the challenge is that his family has refused to give the body for Islamic janazah. So it is our duty and obligation as a Muslim community to do what we must do. Even if we don't have the body with us, we can do Salatul Ghaib. So inshallah, after the Salatul Jum'ah, please let's stay behind. Let's have Salatul Ghaib for our brother. Whatever the family chooses to do with the body is inconsequential to his place in Jannah that we are hopeful of. Ours is we should do our part because it is his duty upon us as Muslims to prepare him through the Islamic way. But then because there's an obstacle, we cannot do the full rites. But then the most important thing is that we do what we are able to do. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا إنك جامع الناس ليوم لا ريب فيه إن الله لا يخلف الميعاد. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. قوموا إلى صلاتكم يرحمكم الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله